Upskilling is one way. Second way is getting lucky. Most of the time, 20% of what you know is 80% of your job. Today's
Right.
skills are to succeed in any corporate today. If you don't know these three, right, you'll
Yeah.
always keep feeling that somebody else knows more than you. However, with
Right.
online learning, acha, I'm not liking finance. I want to get into
Yeah.
marketing, product management, digital marketing, machine learning. In my opinion, these are the three skills that will help you grow more than the average over the next 10 years.
Hey there. Welcome to Marketing Mavericks with Indiefolio. Today we have Ankit Khirwal with us, the head of marketing at upGrad. Ankit's career spans over 10 years. Before upGrad, he spent 6 years at Pepperfry, where he did a bunch of interesting things in various roles, from strategy, planning, to leaving the company as the head of marketing. I'm excited to unpack his journey and learn a lot about marketing, education, products to consumers in India.
Thanks, Kavan, for inviting me. Nice to finally meet you face to face.
Likewise, likewise. I wanted to start off this chat by asking you about your background. Usually, you get a marketing bug or a creative bug pretty earlier on, and I could be completely wrong with my assumption here, but maybe that happened to you a little bit later on because you did see it. You also joined a pretty large startup, did strategy and planning and finance planning, then you were a business head. Only very recently is when you switched to a leadership role in marketing, and I personally have not seen that to be very common. So what's the story there? How did you jump into marketing? When did you decide that you want to build a career in marketing? You can unpack that.
So, okay, yeah, I get this question quite often. People who've gone through my journey, as you described, I used to be a finance guy. Started my career in banking, yeah, and then natural course is that okay, from capital markets you'd want to get into investing, yeah, but for some reason I said okay, no, let's get into startups, and this is what 2015 when e-commerce was just 2 3 years old, right? And joined Pebblefry and started reporting the founder, tried to do some strategy work, some financial planning, fundraising, etc., which was core to what I would otherwise also do, coming from a finance background. That role gave me a very good understanding of the business, the operations, as well as consumer, because I would have to sit in a lot of investor pitches. I have forgotten the number of pitches that I have been part to, and you know, the kind of questions they would ask, and the most scrutinized part of the whole P&L used to be the marketing spends, always. Yeah. And as part of my job, I had to go really deep into how marketing operates, you know, how to bring down CAC. Those used to be a quite often spoken about topic in most of my conversations. I am a Banya. So, a natural transition from there was okay, I want to get into the business side. So I asked for the business role. And that's how I managed the non furniture business at Pepper. And then it so happened our CMO at that point in time, Kashyap Vadapalli, and our founder Amrish, right? They just asked me, "Acha, marketing dekhega?"
Okay.
And I said, "What?" And it was an impulse. "Yahan क्यों नहीं?" Uh, yeah, they would have thought कि कर लेगा ये.
Hmm.
And then I also had help from both of them because they were seasoned marketeers. They started their life in FMCG marketing, grew up the ladders, and became who they became. So next 6 months, think about it, was a 15-year crash course crashed into 6 months of what marketing is and how to
Wow.
think about a consumer, and that's how I had to learn and adapt and deliver. So that's how marketing happened. And once you start getting into it, I started liking it, and then like, okay, this is what I want to do.
Fantastic. You know, I must ask you, doesn't this seem to be a little bit challenging, right, from a career standpoint? Because I'll tell you, I've had a lot of friends who are in the space right now. I'm 28, so a lot of us, in my circle are like 5 year experience, 6 year experience ho gaya hai, and now they're like, nahi maza aa raha hai. So I'm somebody who keeps on telling people just do what you want, right? What's stopping you? But they're all like, my 5 years of experience, which has compounded, which comes at a certain CTC, will go back to zero. It's so risky starting from scratch. I'm about to get married, or I'm married, or I'm going to have a baby. This is the stage they're in. So I just wanted to candidly ask you, right? Like, what would be your advice to people like that, right? What's the best way to transition? And I can clearly see there are founders and companies out there who don't see, those things in black and white. So I'd love for you to give your opinion on this.
See, career transition is a very difficult decision to make for anybody. Even at upgrad, especially coming to after coming to upgrad, I've heard so many stories of transitions that's not even funny. People who would come from a BCom background have done back-end ops for 7 8 years. Today are digital marketers or have gotten into machine learning. There are multiple ways of doing that, Kavan. One is you upskill to get the skills what is required to get into that field, and somebody will give you a break. Because if you don't have the skills, nobody will hire middle of the career for a different kind of a role. I think this is the easiest and most sure short way of breaking into a different kind of a role. A lot of people want to get into product management, for example, right?
Right.
They think it's a very lucrative career, and a lot of people actually get into product management despite having no tech background. It's just that upskilling is one way. Second way is getting lucky. Third way, and the more the easy way or the more taken road is you work in a company. Suppose you're in marketing and you want to get into a data science, data analytics teams. You're a marketer. You walk up to your data head and say, "Hey, I want to make a career here. I'll be happy to learn, assist you in a small manner. And this is, you tell me what all do I need to prepare for. And if you can, in the next 6 months, give me small projects, right? And then you do those projects, you prove yourself. And next time one role opens up, because you have an interest, the head of that department may invite you, right? But
Hmm.
you have to be persistent for almost at least 2 3 quarters and show that you can actually deliver for him is when you get that break. And most of the people do it like this, but it's also more risky, or the probability of success in this approach is lesser. My best bet would be do a combination of the first and the third.
Yeah, makes sense. But tell me one thing, right? I think learning is is one of those things. It's like everybody talks about, but doing it right is so challenging. So what would be your like best advice to learn very quickly and learn well? Because you've done that multiple times.
Most of the time 20% of what you know is 80% of your job. So understand what you really need to know and what you can delegate. At least I had the privilege or luxury to delegate a lot of stuff. I just had to think about a lot of things and data logically, and I can have a conversation. I cannot still have technical conversation with my team often, right? They'll say कि DSA campaign में Google कोई भी landing page दिखा रहा है. I was like, so that gets extremely technical for me, but I have learned it, right? Whenever a problem comes, I will go read up and try to also help them out. But typically, my thing is that, okay, to do this job well, what are the things that I must know without which I cannot survive? And I ensure that I figure out, I go on the internet or I talk to my peers, done this, or who can give me a sort of a half an hour crash course on this, right? Then I know where do I go and need to read about it, or who else do I need to talk about it to understand uh, how to deal with this problem statement or this skill set. It just removes all the fluff that I have to go through to actually learn what I need to do my job. Yeah, that's helped me. And the second, of course, problem aya, immediately learn about it. Next time it comes, you don't face the same problem.
Awesome. I can, hard relate to you because I started Indiefolio when I was in my 12th grade, and so many awkward moments because I've never worked in a company, leave alone run a company. And we've hired people, and they're asking me like really basic things, and I have no clue. I'm even sometimes selling and talking to clients, and I just don't understand the jargon. So I think failing fast also is a great way to learn. But I fully second you in those crash courses for the right people. I think sometimes a 1 hour conversation with a domain expert who's legitimate a domain expert and who really cares for you will tell you so much, which not even 2 years of an undergrad will ever teach you. So I think fully, the second you there. Um, Now, just wanted to kind of, jump ship and start discussing about education generally. I think you are in a fantastic place to unpack a lot of insights there. And obviously, the first question I'd like to ask you is the current state of edtech. Really, it's been like a roller coaster. There are companies like upgrad which are doing phenomenally well. They are taken very seriously, and at the other spectrum, you've got a lot of trust deficit because of multiple players over the last few years. So as a marketer in your position, how can a brand navigate this issue, right? Like even in currently in, let's say, CPG, because of a lot of influencers or at least one of them, there's so much trust deficit कि यार ये actually बेच रहे इतना protein है कि नहीं, इतना sugar है कि नहीं, and everybody's like doubting to sell that. So as a marketer, when you are kind of handling a brand and there is so much chaos in the consumer's mind, what's the best way to navigate that?
Okay. So I'll build some context around the point that you've built, right? Adult learning did not dip or increase because of the pandemic. However, which is very different for test prep or K-12 or the tuition space, which is the other part that you were talking about, right? And part that segment of EdTech uh, is moving offline, which was the conventional way of imparting learning. Now, for higher education and specifically for upgrad, we have stuck to our motto of lifelong learning. We're trying to change consumer behavior to not think about learning as a phase of life, but constantly upskilling, right? That is A. And B is an outcome focused learning objective. What I mean by that is that मैं ये पढ़ रहा हूँ इससे क्या होगा. You made a very important comment that 2 साल 3 साल undergrad, right, versus a 1 hour crash course with a domain expert. That is the exact difference. Today, I will probably not want go and learn theory, especially if I'm a working professional, anywhere between 2 to 20 years of work experience. That this is true for any part of one's career. What brought you here wouldn't take you forward. When I say what, I mean skills. And hence, we very early figured out okay, outcome focused courses is what's going to really help us take the brand forward, take the industry forward, and in some form and manner help build the nation. So, because as a brand we stuck to this motto, this vision, and this objective, right? And everybody at upgrad tries to think about okay, आज कौन सा सक्सेस स्टोरी देखने को मिलेगा हमें. So it keeps us doing the right thing over and over again, and that's when you said people take the upgrade brand seriously.
Absolutely. And I just wanted to follow up, Ankit, on that particular thing, right? Let's say we move a little bit away from education also. And if I'm a marketer and my industry's got a lot of scrutiny for various reasons, like what should a brand marketer do that time? Like how do I respond to things? A lot of people deny, a lot of people embrace. What's the right approach?
There is no playbook around it. Every case is very unique. One way to do that is that suppose if there's a way you can differentiate yourself from the pack, you loudly proclaim that I am not part of them, or this is how I am different. That is A. B. Keep doing what you're doing right, even more with more conviction, because that is what has brought you till here. So if you do these two things right, I think that should be fine.
Brilliant, brilliant. Now, want to kind of pick your brains on understanding the adult learning space. It's a great place, and I think everybody knows if you want to build a successful business in India, education is a big domain, which should work if you play your cards right. So, in the adult learning space, let's say we just focus on that. I'm assuming you'll have the maximum context there. Can you unpack the entire segment for us? I'm curious to know who's learning, like from where are people really coming, what stage of their career are they in, and what are they really interested to learn also.
God, I think you'll be surprised to know that people from different parts of their career journey, whether somebody is just a fresher or 3 years into your workforce, or they're 25 years into the workforce, they are all thinking about upskilling, and they're coming and enrolling. I'll give you a small example. Last 12 months, we've enrolled at least close to 1,500 people in a doctorate program. Right, that's a fairly large number when you think about it because it's a very high commitment and high spend course, right? Our doctorate programs range anywhere between, I don't know, 6 lakhs to 20 lakhs.
Right.
A program that we launched, which is again a doctorate program in generative AI, and it was launched 4 months back, actually 3 months back. There are already about 130 plus people who enrolled for it. And guess what? It's a 20 lakh program. Now,
Wow.
who are these people? These are people who are VPs, CXOs, SVPs, directors in multinational and Indian companies. So
Mhm.
more and more as we uncover this layer of people need to get further ahead in their careers, we realize there's a very latent need. People feel, अच्छा अब यहाँ से आगे कैसे बढ़ूँ?
Right.
And people plateau in their careers. People want to reset in their careers. People realize that probably I need to move to another company, but I have worked in this company for 10 years. I don't know how am I going
Yeah.
to move. So all
Yeah.
of those things, at least taking an educational, I will not say break, because it was true when online learning did not exist, gives
Yeah.
you that impetus to do what you
Mm-hmm.
want to do next in your career. Now, I spoke about, people who are very senior, people who want to get into,
Mm-hmm.
say, digital marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Every quarter, probably we upskill anywhere between 800 to 1,000 people in digital marketing that we run with Mica. That's a fairly large. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, over last 7 8 years, we've upskilled at least 25,000 people who've gone into the industry after taking up this 1 year course with Mica. You go to any agency today, any brand team, you'll find at least one person who would have done this particular program that we run. Now, whether you talk about supply chain management, you talk about AI, ML, you talk about generative AI, you talk about MBA.
Mm-hmm.
While upGrad doesn't offer an MBA, but it has partnered with a lot of B schools across the globe and in India to offer
Mm-hmm.
MBA suited to your requirements.
Yeah.
You want a practitioner MBA, you want a old school traditional MBA, you want a 1 year MBA, you want a and an MBA with a doctorate, you want an
Yeah.
MBA with dual specialization. So different people have very different kind of requirements. The beauty of these MBAs is that it won't teach you what you expect out of a traditional B school curriculum.
Mm-hmm.
Right? For example, we're just about to launch a new program which will teach you data science, product management, digital marketing within an MBA. I don't know of many MBA programs that will teach you these three, in depth. And today's
Right.
skills are to succeed in any corporate today. If you don't know these three, right, you'll
Yeah.
always keep feeling that somebody else knows more than I.
Correct. Correct. I fully, agree that I think with disruption happening every day today, I think learning is the best shield or armor you have, right? Otherwise, somebody will replace you or technology will replace you. Um, but I'm keen to know, right? Like, are you seeing a growth where, I mean, I'm sure both of this is happening, but which is bigger? Is it that, folks in the workspace now are learning more, or is it that, hey, I want to, let's say, I really believe in like freelancing or people or independent people setting up shop way earlier on. Let's say I
Hmm.
take a path like that. So instead of going to a traditional college, I can just do upgrade. Are you seeing a
Hmm.
growth in that? Or are you seeing a growth in people in workforce wanting to upskill to stay relevant or get more salary, etc.?
See, the latter segment that you've spoken about are still very far and few. Yeah. So we do
Hmm.
still get people who are starting them by themselves, or or freelancing. We get a lot of these inquiries in digital marketing specifically. For example, they
Yeah.
just set up a Shopify setup, got 20 products and
Right.
run an online store. They come and do this
Right.
program because
Correct.
you actually do it and learn it. So the today I learned
Right.
something I'm going to implement in what I just started up. However, that segment
Hmm.
is still small. Majority of the people who are taking up these upskilling courses are people who are already in the workforce. When I say workforce,
Hmm.
in corporates,
Hmm.
and reasons are manifold. Some people want to change the domain. Some people want to simply get better at what they do, feel more confident in
Hmm.
conversations. Yeah, when they sit across the table, sound more intelligent,
Right.
and all that adds to their growth in that organization. Some people simply want a hike
Right.
or a promotion, and a lot of companies also have a mandate. Okay, you need to have a certain skill to be able to
Right.
be considered for a certain role in the organization. Fortunately or unfortunately, this access used to not exist, say 10 years back.
Hmm.
Even
Hmm.
5 years back, access to a lot of these kind of domains were not available to people, and hence they will feel very frustrated in their careers. They don't know a way out. However, with
Right.
online learning, they know, acha, I'm not liking finance, I want to get into
Yeah.
marketing, right? But I cannot also quit my job. At least I have an alternative that
Yeah.
I can do something in marketing, but I care, and then I can somebody will give me a marketing job.
Right. Right.
So I think majority of the customers still the former.
And what are they studying, right? What is like your evergreen top selling categories? Is it, I'm assuming it's technology, data science? Is that a big focus?
See, one of the oldest segments are data science and digital marketing. We are seeing a shift from data science to machine learning. very rapidly over the last 12 months, right? So machine learning is growing very rapidly. Data science, share of data science is getting taken over by machine learning to a large extent. And digital marketing. These are two evergreen kind of fields. I will club data science and AI together. They're sisters. And digital marketing, these two. And of course, see, management, MBA, I will not claim to have lost any sheen. Every year, the
Mhm.
number of people who take CAT is only constantly going up. So,
Mhm. Mhm.
so that's the third one. But the nature of what an MBA entails today is rapidly shifting.
And is this like consistent with the job market also? Are people learning because these are the highest paying jobs as well?
Absolutely. Product management, digital marketing, machine learning. In my opinion, these are the three skills that will help you grow more than the average over the next 10 years. Right? And if you are skilled in generative AI applications in these three fields,
Mhm.
which today at least 15, 16 of our courses have defined modules upskilling you in application of Gen AI in these courses, I think you are favorably set. So there are a lot of other domains, Kavan. It's just that they're niche. I think these three segments are getting very large
Got it.
in requirements, especially now that a lot of GCCs are setting up shop in India. Real estate is very happy as an industry that so many capability centers are coming to South of India. Who are they hiring, and what are they hiring for? It are these three things. They're shipping out their tech, they're shipping out their product management, they're shipping out their digital marketing capabilities, they're shipping out their
Right.
ML ops, pretty much.
Correct. Got it. Very interesting. I think so many insights that I think if anybody's either wanting to get a job or even build something in this space, I think pretty interesting areas to focus on. My last question in this section was figuring out what you want to teach, right, or who you want to partner with and what course you want to introduce. How do you go about doing that? I mean, at one level you've got students, they want to learn. At one level you've got the market and the company saying this is what you should teach because I need I have a supply gap there. How do you decide what to launch as a course?
Okay, very interesting. We've been doing this drill for the last couple of months. Okay, what next to launch? So, lot of things get into that decision, Kavan. One is, where is the demand? There are various sources through which you can understand where is the demand. One is doing a simple dipstick from people. What do they think, or what do they perceive is the future skill that's required? A, B. What are people searching on Google?
Mm.
Right? For example, AI or ML, the searches went up in the last 24 months multiple X. And the number of jobs for a certain skills have also skyrocketed. So the
Mm.
third one is, of course, you know, where is the job market going, which a lot of these
Mm.
consultancies will be able to tell you. Or simple, the number of jobs that you see on these job portals in certain domains will also give you some understanding. So okay, cybersecurity is going ballistic, or
Mm.
cloud computing is a very large market today. Then,
Right.
so you feel, okay, these I'm absent in these domains, so I need to be present, right?
Mm.
Next comes, okay, which university to partner with, and then multiple considerations come into here. Some universities don't want to partner with an edtech player. They want to run. They either don't want to get into online learning, or they want to do their own online learning, or
Mm.
some people want to partner only with a certain kind of brands. So depending on what brands or universities consumers will appreciate for a certain domain or vertical of learning, plus who do you think you will have a good working relationship with, you choose a partner accordingly. And it's like matchmaking, cover. You
Yeah.
It's very difficult to say who will it work out with. So I think that happens, and then both upgrad and the university will have their own core competencies in terms of faculty, in terms of pedagogy, in terms of content, or
Mhm.
syllabus creation, etc. So when the university takes charge there, we have very valuable inputs because we know what the user wants, and that's how it generally this happens.
Super interesting. Um, I want to now ask about what's happening today is a lot of companies started a online university, online a product brand, etc., etc. And everybody is doing like this omni-channel, phygital, offline play now. Even when it comes to learning, If you look at like profitable startups in this space in education, it's all the offline players, so what's happening there according to you? I mean, you've also been in a company before which has also launched very nice sophisticated stores. So there is a constant कि नहीं पहले digital करते हैं but फिर वो offline करना ही पड़ता है. So what's your take there? Like, is it that if I'm starting a new company मुझे दोनों strategy साथ में करनी चाहिए, otherwise I'll fail? Or is it that India will never see a digital only brand? And lastly, what's your take with upgrad also? How do you see that playing?
Okay. See, the decision of I will always be an online or an always be an offline depends on the unit economics of that industry or that business, right? D2C has worked very well because of all the margins that you give out to distributors and the middlemen, right, to reach the customer. Not required in a D2C brand. So you balloon your marketing or customer acquisition the cost, and over time that cost assumption is that the cost will come down drastically, and you start seeing a J curve in your cash flows. Not every business will allow you to do that. A, and hence your decision of whether I will be only D2C or I will be, you know, going to offline also is a very nuanced decision depending on company to company and industry to industry. Second thing is a lot of companies who are digital first get into offline because they want one more channel of growth. It's not that their online is not growing, but people are also buying offline,
Hmm.
right? Even say mobile phones. While we may think that probably सारे mobile phones Amazon और Flipkart पे बिकते हैं, but ऐसा नहीं है, right? There are
Absolutely.
customers elsewhere also. Now suppose
Yeah.
today you create like an Amazon mobile stores across the country, do you think you will get more customers? Yes,
Absolutely.
right? But that decision is purely upon that industry and that company whether it makes economical sense for them to foray there. Some industries will need an offline touch point because of the nature of that industry. People need a
Mm-hmm.
touch and feel. People need to talk to somebody, right? Because of a very complex purchase decision, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they typically are afraid to take that call without talking to somebody or without actually experiencing the product, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially if it's a very expensive category or high value category. And hence you will have to have an offline touch footprint for conversions. It's like buying
Right.
a car, right? You've done all your research, you almost made up your mind. Okay, mujhe Baleno lena hai, right? But you'll still go and get that test drive and convert at the store. You'll not try to swipe your card online even if they allow you to. So yeah, that's
Correct.
that. These are, I think, broadly two or three reasons why I see, this whole offline versus online versus omni-channel conversation panning out.
Fully agree with you here. I think the higher the ticket size, as you said towards the end, right, the more the need, I guess. So if you're, you don't trust it. Like my mom, for example, is so scared to do any transaction about like 5,000 rupees online. Otherwise she's like, nay, I'll have to go and I'll have to figure. So I'm sure she, I definitely relate to that. I wanted to know now, if I'm a digital brand and I create an offline store, right? How does your marketing strategy get impacted? Like one guess I'm making is, chalo, let's say I'm a digital brand. It's like, hey, there is one storefront, but the moment I get into five, six, seven storefronts, in one in Gujarat and one in Bombay and one in Delhi, Bangalore, is it like more localized marketing? And how does the marketing stack change as such? I just wanted to know, like, how would you transition from a digital first brand to like a pan India kind of a marketing strategy?
See here, at least what I have learned, the two ways of going about offline. Yeah, one, you make the offline store as your marketing front. You get high streets or you open stores, large space in a mall. You're building brand. You're getting a lot of footfalls in the store, right? And hence you don't need to market that store. The other way of doing it is that you take an obscure place, don't pay a lot on real estate, and you market that store to drive walk-ins into that store. These are the two different approaches, and different brands use different kind of approaches. You can already think of a couple of brands who do either of these two. So now, if you were a digital first brand who's going into either of these two, right, your reason for opening the stores will be different. These two kinds of stores, whether it is it an impulse purchase or you want to build a brand through these stores, you want people to not have an intent walk in, experience your product, etc. You typically take up the high street, big facade, try to attract people in. That helps those kind of brands. If you are a brand uh, which people are already searching for, right? It's a very large brand. Or if you're a brand where it's a very niche use case, and people will definitely look for a game. मेरे पास पास है कि नहीं है store, and then I will find and then I'll go. Then these are the two use cases where you will use the second kind. For example, tuition centers, for example, Kavan, right? Or a service center,
Hmm.
or I don't know, I'm just trying to think of what categories. I've seen a lot of laptop stores being in,
Hmm.
in not so high street places.
Right.
And then your marketing strategy also changes. If you're in that kind of second kind of thing, then you will do those radius based marketing, BTL activations, do an RWA
Hmm.
setups, and try
Hmm.
to build awareness about that. Okay, I'm existing there, please come into my store, right?
Hmm.
Or at least you'll bring the store to their houses or their corporates, whereas the other
Hmm.
way, the farmer wouldn't want to need to do all of this. And hence your marketing dollars in one way goes into paying rent, and the other way is going into activations and digital marketing.
Right. I've not really thought about this from this perspective. That's why when you were asking for examples, I was just like, okay, I have to think a little bit more on this. But very interesting that it's really a trade-off between, as you said, is it you're already having eyeballs, paying the rent, or you don't have the eyeballs, you're kind of buying them essentially and directing traffic there. So that's an interesting, way to look at it. Next up, moving to, I think Ronnie and Shark Tank. I believe every startup goes live on Shark Tank. They see so much inflow of business. So I'm assuming you know it is also a strategy because he's one of India's OGs, who's done it and acquired and sold things way before, and he's done multiple things since then. He obviously becomes like a celebrity or a influencer of sorts, who's part of the management or part of the founding team. And there's a lot of chatter around personal branding. you know I keep on hearing from my team saying, hey Kavan, you should put yourself more in front of the camera, and people want to listen to Kavan and not Folio. People are the ones people want to listen to. So what's been your thought there, right? Because I mean, I do see some companies do that at your scale, but it's rare. It's more like, hey, if you're doing 0 to 1, 1 to 10, that's where your personal branding should come in. So what's your outlook towards personal branding? Is it more of a 0 to 1 thing, or is it more it also works at scale?
Hmm. So I will say two things about it. One is personal branding is a personal choice of the founder. Not every founder is comfortable being in the limelight. They want to. A lot of them want to, you know, close the door, solve a problem, build a business, and the other ones don't mind doing the other way, right? So hence you will find a lot of founders behaving differently. That is A. B. Trying to equate the brand equal to an individual is a double-edged sword. You may win, but in case of any negative news, the brand also gets impacted. And usual judgment or wisdom says that generally that is risky. That said, a lot of brands actually benefit from it. At upgrad, for example, right, we realized very recently that having a celebrity endorse a product, right, may not be required for a category like ours, where a more deeper connection with the consumer, a more real experiences needs to be provided to the user. And hence, if you realize last 12 to 24 months, we've started focusing on our learners. Even when you mentioned Shark Tank, every Friday you would see one upgrad learner coming and talking about his career and life changing moment with upgrad. That is a very conscious call, cover, and that is what we asked Sony to help us with, and was what we were focused on. We won't see celebrities advertising for an education brand like ours. So I think it was somewhat related, and hence I am trying to make this point. And hence, yeah, the first 2 point about personal branding versus brand equity and the preference of the founders. I think all of these three things will get into taking that decision whether I want to take my brand, in this route of building it up or not.
That brings me to my next question, actually, which is understanding your creator production stack, right? Like
Hmm.
a lot of companies in your area, right, they're producing their own content, right? Some of them have an internal studio, they have an internal creative team. You also have an agency, so you've got like BAU work, special campaign. So how do you and you also been in a different company for like 6 7 years, and you also shaped marketing there. So what's usually a production stack or a creative stack you recommend, right? What's in-house, what is outsourced? If you can share some thoughts on that.
See, it depends on company to company and how much creative requirement, etc., is there in that company. In my previous role, we had everything outsourced. Here, we have everything done in house. Right? So,
Hmm.
completely different. Here, we don't work with any agency. There's no agency on record for us. For some time, if you're doing a large, big budget film, etc., then we'll commission with somebody who we've worked with or we're confident about. But
Hmm.
otherwise, anything else, whether it's a quick ad making, or whether it's BAU performance creatives, or anything on the website, or we're going to an event, we need a canopy. Everything is done in house. Of course, we will not have. We will go to a production house to get things shot, or put things together, but the writing, the creative, the concept, everything is devised in house. Yeah, so for that, you will of
Hmm.
course need a larger creative team. There are both pros
Hmm.
and cons of that. One is pros is that you will have speed and control are the
Correct.
pros, and the downside of that is that very soon your ideas become jaded or unidimensional. Yeah,
Correct.
so you have to actively keep figuring out how to jolt that team to start to
Hmm.
get them to think out of the box. So that's, I think, other two, three major things about having a team in house or outside. Both the approaches are right. Kavan, there's no right or wrong. Totally depends on
Hmm.
what works for you and what kind of things you want to outsource and keep in house.
Right.
It's at the comfort of the marketing individual.
Right. Right. One challenge usually
Hmm.
with doing this at a brand level, which is non-media first, let's say, I would still put you in like education, right? Is career laddering for the creative team, right? Where most creative people, I'm a designer myself, I'm an animator, so most creative people like to work on instead of variety. So either they join an agency, they set up their shop. That's where the top
Hmm.
creative talent lies.
Hmm.
Otherwise, they get jaded. And there's also the mentor peer network, right? NCD, CD, VD, etc. Oh, helps me kind of be on my toes from a creative standpoint. So how would you recommend like a brand who wants to, let's say, do things in house? Because you're right, speed is unmatchable, right? You can't compete match an in-house team speed with any agency. How do you solve that career laddering problem?
You have to build a very strong team or strong leader around it. For example, my team is being led by somebody who was a creative head in a very well-known agency,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? So that individual will attract talent.
Right.
A, right? B, a lot of people who join a brand will join because they don't want to be in an agency. They've been
Hmm.
in an agency and they now want to be in a brand. And there are a lot of people like that in the market, right?
Right.
Because it's plus and minus for working in both the places.
Right.
And it's not that you've closed your doors go back to the agency. You can always
Hmm.
try to get a gig and get back to the agency world. But
Right.
I have not seen that transition happening. Anybody who's moved out of my team has gone to another brand, has not gone back to the agency. So, right,
Got it.
so that happens. How do you keep them challenged or help them to keep growing? Is a conscious effort, Kavan. I mentioned even in the first part of my conversation is that the creative leader has to keep challenging them, and
Correct.
the marketing head has to keep challenging this creative guy,
Correct.
right? Keep throwing them new creatives, and something as simple as ये देख इस ब्रांड ने इतना अच्छा बना लिया तेरा फिल्म तो खराब क्यों है, just random banter. And creative folks take it very seriously. ऐसा कैसे बोल दिया मैंने.
Absolutely.
Uh,
Our work is our self worth, so we'll prove you wrong.
so
So
I think
got it.
it's a very difficult task. You rightly point.
Yeah, got it. Got it. Understood. Last bit here, and then I'll move to the last part. I know we are running against time here. Is you still, you mentioned the last company, a lot of agencies you used to work with. This time also for special projects, you work with agencies. As you know, we are a network of boutique studios, agency founders, and consultants. What advice, or rather, let me reframe that. What have you realized differentiates great studios and agencies from average studios and freelance agencies out there?
I will not comment on agency, but the teams in the agencies, right? There are different teams working on different brands in the agency. There are teams they understand the brand very, very well. They ask the right questions. They take an effort to proactively understand and ask the marketing guy very difficult questions. A lot of times the marketing
Hmm.
person, the consumer person doesn't even know answers to them, and he goes and finds those answers, and that's when you realize, okay, this team knows or is asking the right questions about the brand, and he'll do a good job, and they eventually do. Problem, and they will probably proactively tell you, okay, this is how you should think about your next year's brand strategy.
Right.
Those teams do very well, and
Hmm.
those teams exist in all agencies,
Hmm. Hmm.
right? Unfortunately, both kinds of teams exist in all agencies. One who do this, one who don't do
Right.
that, because every agency does great work, Kavan, right? It's just that, so how well they understand how well the marketing team and the agency is syncing. I think that's most important.
Hmm. Right.
That's when you do your best work. वो आजकल काफी कम हो गया है. I remember my boss, right, used to tell me about his Cadbury days. He started his career as a
Hmm.
brand manager at Cadbury. I'm talking about Pepperfry founder. Unfortunately, is no more. He would
Yeah.
constantly talk about how uh, the agency folks probably come over his house and they will drink, overnight, and vice versa, right? Those were, at that point in time, agency and brand managers used to, be like that. I think that culture is very rare these days. Extended team nahi hai. They work a lot in isolation.
I think it's natural though. I personally feel there are so many shelves to put your product on today. There's so many channels. It's not the one big idea day. एक idea फोड़ लिया, billboard पे डाल दिया, TV बना दिया, खत्म. Mandate is over. Today, it's sustained. It's marketing strategies. You can track everything, so you don't know कि actually अच्छा लगा because my boss thought, or it's actually because the ROI is pretty much there in my dashboard. So I think it's become very competitive now. But love that answer. I think anybody who understands the customer, understands the market, the segment, is the one who usually cracks it. And a lot of research, a lot of patience is required for that, which I think a lot of people lack today. Um, so thanks for your 2 cents. I'm just going to jump into the last part now, which is about marketing. Sorry, about AI and marketing, right? And even learning to a degree. So I wanted to know. I think we all know, AI is here to stay. We have to embrace it. You guys literally are, helping people upskill there. So you're going full throttle. From a marketing standpoint, are you currently leveraging AI? If so, where all? If not, why not?
See, in marketing, we're leveraging AI in video, in graphics, in content writing,
Mhm.
across board actually. Uh,
Okay.
we ran a campaign 1.5 years back where we created an avatar of India's leading data scientists, and we ranked over data scientists, and he will say different things to different segments of customers. So we ran like
Okay.
400 different segments. So we've tried to dabble a lot, but majority today is generally to see the mid journeys of the world, or pro version of Chat GPT, and what are the applications that can have in your creative work.
So I would still say it's essentially a lot of chore jobs you want to kind of do very quickly, and personalization. I think 1:1 personalization. I think there's a lot of uh, opportunity there. Again, in AI, right? If you were to look at from a very long term point of view, uh, that this is a personal thing I wanted to check with you, right? As somebody who's helping uh, such a large edtech company in India, we are seeing digital avatars. We are seeing people learn so much. I learn so much on AI. I keep on asking it questions. Whenever I'm sometimes bored, I'd ask, say, hey, I'm talking to Ankit and this is his background. What can I ask him? I really kind of do a lot to learn. So learning's a big one. Very quick learning we discussed right at the start. AI is like your best partner if you think about it. Domain expert bhi hai, sab aata hai usko. As long as you have context, you'll be able to understand that. Then you've got digital avatars, you've got video. So do you need teachers in the future, right? Do you need college in the future? Like, what's your kind of long-term thought from an education point of view, where let's say 15 years from now, where maybe like let's say my child, would be kind of deciding what to do. There, I'm assuming there would be like an unlimited library of people, agents, bots, avatars teaching. So have you thought about that? What's your personal take there?
Okay, so generally, our co-founder or our founder says this. He, if one says that universities are not required or schools or colleges are not required, uh, the assumption is that library तो है सब पढ़ लेंगे, right? So similarly, when we say कि अच्छा YouTube तो है वहाँ से मैं machine learning सीख लूँगा, या 10 years later AI तो है, it will teach me everything. I think it's
Mhm.
it's wrong to undermine human behavior.
Right.
we we our distraction levels are at at their peak right now. So if you think that you can get somebody to do a structured learning for 6 months just through an AI, it's very difficult. Today we
Hmm.
boast of our completion rates to be 85-90% high, because the moment Kavan is probably did not attend classes for 3 days, he'll get a message or a call from a buddy.
Hmm.
क्या हो गया, ओ कमल से मैं छुट्टी पे हूँ, आई एम गॉन ऑन आउट ऑन हॉलिडे, राइट? सो
Right.
दैट कांस्टेंट पुश इज रिक्वायर्ड, एंड दैट स्ट्रक्चर इन लर्निंग, किसके बाद क्या पढ़ना है, क्या चीज में इवैल्यूएट करना है, मे बी ऑल दैट कैन बिकम seamless with AI in the future, but you still need to control human behavior, and hence you will need teachers, universities, and schools and rooms, and a cohort or peers, a set of peers जिसके साथ वो पढ़े. AI will not be able to solve that.
Got it. I love that. I think it just kind of was almost like a eureka moment in my mind. I'm like, yeah, you need an accountability partner actually. And you will never take AI as a serious accountability partner because it's not a human being. It doesn't have emotions. So you're like, shut up, don't irritate me. But I won't do that to my teacher, my instructor, my batchmate. So I absolutely love that. I think that's a really good space to think about as an accountability partner. Probably not going to get disrupted very, very easily. Superb. So thanks a lot, Ankit. That brings us to the end of the podcast. Really appreciate you taking out the time. I know you're a very busy person, so giving me an hour on a weekday is something I truly appreciate. I hope you enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah, man. Thanks so much for the time. Really enjoyed this conversation.
Brilliant, brilliant. Great. And for everybody who stuck along, thank you so much. If you want to listen to another expert like Ankit, stick along, like, share, subscribe. We'll have a marketing leader very, very soon chatting with me. Bye bye.